just started her Black Friday sale where you can get up to 40% off. So it's 30% off if you spend more than $50, which is very easy to do for the brand. 35% off if you spend $150, and then 40% off if you spend $250. Now that is huge. This is why I don't recommend anything from Pat McGrath during the Sephora sale. Knowing that Black Friday was coming, not knowing it would be so soon, but knowing Black Friday was coming, I couldn't recommend anything Pat McGrath for the Sephora sale because this was coming. Now, you can see the title, like, Pat McGrath has changed. Pat McGrath is a different brand than the brand that I knew for 5 years ago when I first started reviewing their products, and every product that was launched was literally gold. And I do feel like the value of the brand has gone down because they are constantly having these big sales. It just does not make sense to purchase Pat McGrath Labs at a full price point anymore. And even in a lot of cases, the quality, you can tell the quality has gone down a bit. So for today's video, I wanted to do a full face of my tried and true Pat McGrath palettes that are worth the full price, because this is good news. Her holiday collection is available for this discount, so if you spend a lot of money, you can get 40% off on the holiday stuff, which I've been saying. The holiday launches, the quality-wise, they are not worth full price, but they are worth 30% off for sure. So if you can get 30-40% off of these, I think you will be very happy with them. I'm not really going to dig into those because I want you guys to get the best value that you can. So I'm going to talk about products that are actually worth full price point. So it's an amazing value to get a discount on them. Just my tried and truth. If you've been a long-time watcher of my Pat McGrath videos, you're not going to see anything new and exciting in these videos. I'm just talking about my favorites, the best of the brand from the golden age. So let's get into it. Now, primer, Pat McGrath does have a primer. For real, I'm not that into it. It's not worth it for any price point. What I would love to see is Pat McGrath come out with a primer like the Say Glowy Super Gel in Star Glow. I just feel like this would totally fit the vibe of her brand, and she would come out with something like, I imagine, skincare infused, really glowy, glass-like, thinking of her runway looks. This is something I want to see from Pat McGrath, but anyways, I'm going to use Say. Most of this is going to be a full face of Pat McGrath, but if the product in that category simply isn't worth it, we're just going to use what I want to use to get the look that I want to get. Don't you think Pat McGrath could do something amazing by coming out with a glowy product like this for the skin? Now, foundation, Pat McGrath does have an amazing foundation. I would love to see her expand her complexion line, another foundation formula, another concealer formula, but she did kill it with this Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection foundation. It was a hot topic when this came out because it was very, very expensive. But after, I've played with so many foundations, I think that this is worth it. But it's definitely worth it at a discount. I feel like I should get you to come closer. So I'm going to, it's a very watery foundation consistency, which I'm normally not the biggest fan of, but it so works in the Pat McGrath formula. This is such a skin-like foundation, and it feels feather light on the skin. You really can't even feel it. So if you are not a fan of the feeling of foundation on your skin, this one could be a really good one to pick up because it really just is like tinted water, but it actually does give you some coverage. It's a buildable formula if you so desire, and it soaks into the skin so easily. It's just one of those foundations that you can slap onto the skin and then have your skin look better. It's so skin-like. So yeah, that one is truly a good luxury formula. I also have been a longtime fan of their concealers. Now mine are older and oxidized. I actually might pick some new ones up during this sale. So these aren't at their top performance. So many concealers have launched recently that I just didn't need to purchase it, but this is one of my favorite concealers. It's full coverage, it's long wearing. I'm going to use the shade LM9. And this concealer is so beautiful that sometimes I will not use it truly as foundation, but it would look beautiful that way. But I use it on large areas of my face to give coverage. It has a really skin-like finish despite it having a good amount of coverage, and it really balances this foundation out because you can't get full coverage with the foundation, but this concealer will give you that coverage where the foundation might not have, like on the nose. My nose is really red right now, so a little bit of this concealer on top. I don't want to talk too much about her base products because I have endless amounts of videos telling you how much I love them, but I just did want to highlight that these are from the golden age of Pat McGrath, and they really are worth the full price point and are one of my all-time favorites on the market. And then for setting powder, I've gone through like 10 of these, I feel like. These are the Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Blurring Under Eye Powders. One of my favorite, most blurring pressed powders out on the market. Even though Pat McGrath is always on sale, I have purchased plenty of these full priced and not regretted it. Like, look how blurring that is for a pressed powder. So lightweight. And then I even buy it in the shade medium because this one is a little bit closer to my skin tone, and I'll put it more on the outskirts of my face, and it just gives the most blurred look to the complexion. Now, Pat McGrath does not have eyebrow products, so let me go do those off camera really quickly. I was thinking how long Pat McGrath hasn't been a brand, and it's so strange that she hasn't come out with any eyebrow products, right? Anyways, let's do the eyes. So obviously Pat McGrath has a lot of options that we could have chosen for the eyes. Initially I was like, let me do the holiday collection, but then I was like, no. I want to go back to my basics. I'm gonna use my all-time favorite Pat McGrath palette. And this palette is my favorite because it is the epitome of the old Pat McGrath brand. It's fun, it's creative, but it still isn't intimidating. I don't think anyways. The way that these shadows layer. My favorite thing about these shadows is layering them. So this is the Mothership 3 Subversive palette. It's like kind of galactic, but still pretty wearable, right? Especially if you get rid of these. A pretty wearable palette. These shades layer over black and brown like no other. It transforms the palette and even gives it more versatility. So I'm just going to show you today what I mean. So I'm going to start off with this matte brown on a shader brush. And I'm going to literally pat this all over the eyelid. Now most of the special shades in here, they look the coolest with a black underneath. But I want to show you over top of the brown because it's quite fun as well. So I'm starting off by just patting that all over the lid, and then I'm taking a big blending brush and we're going to soften the edges. And since I'm layering a shadow over top, it can be a little bit messy. Let me turn this down so you can see better. I'm also going to run it along the lower lash line as well. Okay, boom, all matte. And then this shade is like a pinky gold, but look how it transforms over top of the brown. It almost becomes a little bit more purple. I think it's so fun, and that's the thing with Pat McGrath palettes, like, just keep it simple. Use your finger and apply it all over the lid and call it a day. That's the beauty of Pat McGrath. I'm gonna use this shade down here. I've definitely probably done a look already like this with this palette before on my channel because I have to use the Blitz Astral shades. They're the best. So there's not many more options for me to go for, but I don't care. Okay, now go a little bit into the black. And I want to deepen the lower lash line, just the outer quarter. And then we're going to do the same thing. Get a little bit more smoke. And then trust me, with lashes and liner, it's going to be incredible. Now, Pat McGrath does have a liquid liner that I really like, but it dries out really fast, so probably worth it on a discount, but definitely not full price. And then she also has pencil liners, which are fine. They last a long time. They're quite black. I like them too, but again, not a standout of the brand. So I think what I'm going to do today is I'm going to use just the black in here as my eyeliner. Probably should have done my face makeup last, but we're already here. So I'm just going to press the black shadow on my lash line. and we'll let the falsies do the work. But if there's one thing that's worth full price from Pat McGrath, but there are multiple things. But the number one thing for me are the Mothership palettes, the earlier ones. Like the one that just launched wasn't my favorite, but 1 through 3, hands down, the best of the best from the brand. And then of course, like Divine Rose, Bronze Seduction. You really can't go wrong with those either. I decided we needed it blacker, so I am going to go into the Pat McGrath Labs, obviously. Permagel Ultra Glide eye pencil. Again, a good eye pencil, but it's an eye pencil. Lately I've been loving the Give ones. Just for a little bit more definition, we put that on the tight line. Okay, let's move back to the complexion here now that I know what we're working with. Okay, so this one is a product that grew on me. At first I said the bronzers. It was just too little too late, you know. It's just a basic bronzer. But this particular shade, Nude Honey, is my number one favorite bronzer right now because it's not too warm and it's a good long wearing formula. In fact, I actually put this in my most recent favorites video. That's how much I've been loving it recently. It's an older product, but I was like, I mean, I've been using this. It's just the most perfect shade. It's what I've been reaching for. It's a quality formula. So Nude Honey, if you have my complexion and you don't want something too warm, I think you're really going to like this. I'm going to get it underneath the neck here. And then what I also like about it, I'm gonna put it down my nose as well, just a little bit, nothing crazy. I prefer a cream nose contour, but the shade, she's so perfect. And I'm going to use my foundation brush to kind of blend that in. Now for blush, I am going to pull into one of the holiday palettes because all things considered, while this isn't Pat McGrath's Italian formula, we do have her blushes here, which are an Italian formula, and it is really nice that you get 9 shadows and 2 of her blush formulas, which you can buy individually. I think I'm going to use the shade Nymphette, which is one of my all-time favorite blush formulas from her. I really do like these blushes. I think they're very nice. They last a long time. That's what makes them special because upon application, like, it's a basic blush, but they last a long time. They don't get patchy with application. These, like the bronzers, are another product that had to grow over time for me. They're expensive though. I don't know if in this day and age where you can get so many good blushes on the market that these would be worth full price, but geez, even 20% is fair, especially if you're going out 40%. But anyways, perfect blush. This Nymphette blush just goes with so much. And then for highlight, I do really like her Divine Glow highlighters, but again, there's a lot of good highlighters on the market, so it's not of major importance to pick up her highlights, but I do think they're really buttery and beautiful, so I don't think you'd be disappointed in them. I'm going to use the shade Golden Moonlight for today's video. So I'm just going to take some of this right here. Isn't it so pretty? This is a good highlight, it is. But there are a lot of good highlights even at the drugstore nowadays, but I've always enjoyed my Pat McGrath highlights. I'm going to have to redefine that inner corner liner. But the prettiest pop of color here. And then this is just what I have, the Pat McGrath Labs Fetish Eyes Mascara. I went through a phase where I loved this mascara. The only thing is, this does flake like crazy. So I would say nowadays I don't prefer this mascara. I really wouldn't recommend it as much, but I'm going to use it today for funsies. It gives really nice volume to the lashes. But that doesn't really matter too much because I am going to put falsies so we can get the full effect of the Pat McGrath look, you know? Okay, let me pop on some falsies real quick and then we'll finish with the lips for today's look. Okay, so I did do something off camera. I wanted the shimmer shades to show more in photography, so I wet my shader brush in both of the shades and then applied them over top just to give them a little bit more pop. So that's what you're seeing that's different. And then I used Ardell Demi Wispies, and then let's use my favorite lip products from Pat McGrath. So one thing that's 100% worth it, 100% I've repurchased before are the Pat McGrath Labs Permagel liners. They have such a creamy application, but they have such a long wear time and the best colors. So this shade Supernatural is a really nice, let me show you, shadow color. Contour also is a really great classic color. I'm too lazy to sharpen this, so it's just gonna scratch my lips. But I love to use this shade either as the only lip liner, or what I'm doing today is using it as a background color to the lip liner that I'm putting on top. So this is just gonna help work as a shadow to make my lips look a little bit more plump, and you can see it's already set, like I really can't blend it. And then I'm using the shade Bare Rose over top because I do want a more pinky look to match the pink. My lips are a little dry. I should have hydrated them before this. Now, Pat McGrath does have liquid lipsticks. Skip those. She also has regular lipsticks. Skip those for now because she normally does a lip gloss and lipstick sale, and her lipsticks aren't my favorite. But I will say, her lip glosses are my favorite lip gloss formula. That and Fenty. These are like a little bit of a thicker formulation, a little bit less glare, but they're so smoothing and plumping looking on the lips. So I'm going to use the shade, a classic shade, Divine Rose. But if you've been watching my channel, you know that these have been my favorite lip gloss formulation for years. I mean, I've literally purchased all of these with my own money. Pretty much everything here I've purchased with my own money from Pat McGrath. And this particular shade is a little bit more flat, but they do have some really glittery shades as well, which could go good with the glitters on the eyes. But this is our Pat McGrath look today. I'm thinking maybe I might add like a little bit more black to make it a little bit smokier, because that's what happens with Pat McGrath. She's one of the only brands where I'm like, I need to go more dramatic. I did end up upping the ante here. I put a little bit of black liner on my tight line or waterline, and then a little bit more black shadow on the lower lash line just to help the black and the waterline seem more cohesive. But this is our full face of Pat McGrath. I mean, nothing like using my favorites to rekindle my love for Pat McGrath. I know the brand has not been as good these last couple of years. It makes me sad as a diehard, as somebody who has been following the brand for years, but luckily she still has a lot of fantastic products in her line that I think will make you fall in love with the old Pat McGrath, and those are the products that I tried to demonstrate today. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you're picking up anything from the sale, let me know down below, or if you have any questions, feel free to answer other people's questions if you know the answers if I can't get to it. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye guys, have a good one.